It was supposed to be a simple mission to the palace of Naimari. Quick, covert, easy. But before the rebels can get off the planet, Luke receives a mysterious and deadly message from former Imperial commander Rezi Sorish. Though Sorish's assassin, X7, didn't manage to kill Luke, Sorish hasn't given up on vengeance. Luke must surrender himself, or Sorish is prepared to kill a ship full of innocent travelers. Luke has no choice. To save the hostages, he must follow Sorish's directions, even if they lead straight into a trap.
Mamma Mia! Here we go again, Padawans. Welcome back to the Padawan Library, the Star Wars junior novel podcast, also slightly Mamma Mia obsessed. This isn't another Mamma Mia episode, but we got some ABBA-related content for you guys, spinning it on the 45 on the turntable here at 9:58 a.m. Don't turn that dial. I went into a radio bit there, Tim.
I do think ABBA is perhaps the band of the pre-CD era that is the most CD-friendly, that I think of the most in a CD context. Does this make sense to you?
I can see what you're saying.
Mostly because ABBA Gold is like probably the best greatest hits album ever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the one that is like the most essential. And it came out in the 90s, so it's a CD. Like when I think of it, I think of a CD. Like I wouldn't think of an LP.
Right. Makes sense.
But I mean, obviously, you know, maybe I should collect ABBA 45s or something.
Maybe you should.
That'd be fun. Anyway, the reason you're bringing this up today, let's first get business out of the way quick.
Yeah.
Today we are talking about Rebel Force number 6, the finale of the series, Uprising by Alex Wheeler. We'll talk about that. We're also both actually current on Book of Boba Fett, so we're going to talk about these last couple episodes. And but before we get into any Star Wars stuff, I did on Wednesday night go to see world-renowned ABBA tribute band ABBA Mania with friend of the show Sam McCauley. I always thought he was a foe of the show, but you corrected me last week.
Your brother's the foe of the show. Wait, no, or is Franco the foe of the show?
They're all foes. They're all friends and foes. You know.
They certainly are. They do foeish stuff all the time.
Oh, so many enemies we have. So anyway, me and Sam went to see ABBA Mania at the newly restored Warner Theater here in good old Erie, Pennsylvania.
What did they do to it?
It's just restored. It's like it looks the same.
Okay, all right.
But everything is fresh. Looks beautiful. Mm-hmm. You know, like it's like I think there's even some stuff that like had been painted over that they like kind of
nice.
Took the layers off.
I'm sure this is compelling to our listeners, but the Warner Theater is a classy place.
It's a great theater. It's an old movie theater. Unfortunately, it's not operated as such in many decades. And I was hoping perhaps that this renovation would include maybe the installation of a new screen. It doesn't seem to have. So that's unfortunate. Because when they show movies there, they have like a screen at the back of the stage that's like, so it's like tiny. Like, so it's like, it feels especially small when you're in this cavernous movie house and you're watching like a tiny little screen. Like, you know, I don't know. I don't know if it's like logistically impossible to like build a screen that comes down in front of the stage or something.
Right.
But it would be nice, but unfortunately, that's not the purpose of it. But it's a nice. The only real difference I noticed is they kind of like moved the seats slightly further apart, so it's nice to have some leg room.
Oh, that's good.
As a tall boy. But we were there, and ABBA Mania. Apparently, I wasn't sure what to expect. I mean, I love ABBA. The listeners know that. Sam is a huge ABBA fan, so I thought it'd be fun to go with him, and we planned to go to this. But I wasn't expecting much. It's a tribute band, and I honestly expected it to be like very karaoke-like, frankly. Like, I was expecting backing tracks and that kind of thing, but it was a full band, live band.
Wow.
They ads so tight, extremely tight, impressive. Those are not the easiest songs to play in the world. Got lots of wild time signature shifts and whatnot. And the bassist we were obsessed with. We were just pointing at the bassist the whole time. That guy is a king. And he wasn't one of the guys playing one of the, because you had the guy playing Benny was like the pianist in the band. He played piano. He played the keys. And I think he was playing a like keyboard that was encased in a piano like shell so that he could play like the strings and stuff in some of the songs. And then the guy playing Bjorn played like acoustic guitar and smiled a lot. And then you had Agnetha and Frida, obviously, are the like front people of the band. They absolutely killed it. Incredible voices and harmonies, just stunning. I was in shock at how like pitch perfect they were. I was blown away. The show itself was like not too elaborate. It was like just like a good live show. Like they didn't go too crazy with like effects or anything. And they were like playing the characters too, just like so they had fake Swedish accents. I don't know if because like I looked it up and like one of them's American, one of them's British, and the other two are Australian. So like none of them are Swedish, but and so we I will say this, like the crowd was like way too low key in my opinion. Like they were just like so many of them wanted to sit the whole time, which was like so weird. They like had to beg them basically to stand. It's just like you're at a fucking like rock and roll show with a little rock music. Everything is right. You know what I'm saying? So it's like and like even our friend / foe was way more subdued. I'd never been to a concert with Sam somehow in the decade I've known him. Way more subdued than you would expect coming from that. Like, and it's the same as when he's on the show. It's like, what is he doing? Like,
we know he can be just nuts, like a character. He's an absolute character, an absolute maniac, and like, for some reason in these situations, I mean, I appreciate that he was like appreciating the musicianship and everything, and it was really impressive. Set list was great. They played all the obvious stuff. They even like had a fake like we're leaving and there's gonna be an encore, and it's like, oh, what haven't they played yet? Dancing Queen, okay. So, but it was a good time. I was expecting to be the youngest people there, and I think we were the youngest people there without parental guidance. I'm not positive of that. There were a few little like groups of younger people, like maybe college age people and stuff, but it was mostly, this is probably part of the reason people didn't want to stand either. It was mostly probably people in their 60s and 70s. Standing would just be too much.
Oh god, yeah. And so but yeah, no, it was a good time. I was there was also this guy up front. We were like pretty close to the front, but we weren't like right at the front. There was a guy that was like right in the front who was wearing like a glittery top hat. Yeah. And he was like trying to hype people up, and I thought he was like part of like the stage show. At first I was like, do they have like a weird hype man? But it's like, no, he was just like a guy that was there, and he was just super excited, and like he like would like keep giving like Agnetha like compliments and like basically getting her to like thank him directly. It was so funny. It was so funny. Oh my god. So she looked more like Kylie Minogue than Agnetha. But
well, I mean, whenever you're a tribute band, it's like a hard thing to fill. You gotta
it's more important that they sound good.
Yeah, you play the part, more than you look the part. So it's always tricky. I always love seeing like Beatles tribute bands, and whenever they like form like the classic photos, like the Sgt. Pepper photos, and like they look nothing like the Beatles.
We have a local Beatles tribute band in Erie called Abbey Road. That is just it's a 3-piece. So it's not like they're not playing the Beatles at all. It's just like 3 guys, in their 50s or 60s, and they like just play. They just play Beatles songs, and they do a pretty good job. I saw them at Celebrate Erie, our town fair, a few years ago, and they did all of Sgt. Pepper front to back, and it was actually like a fairly impressive thing. I was like, oh, they did a good job. I used to have a real like disdain for tribute bands, but now the more like, these people are all getting older, dying off, and it's like, these are great song catalogs. These are great songbooks that deserve to be played live in front of people. And, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And like the show, the ABBA show is fantastic. It was well worth $30 or whatever the fuck I spent on it. It was like, oh, this was great. So I was very pleased. I will be, I'll be.
I have only seen 2 tribute bands in my life. All right, and they were in downtown Sharon's usual festival. They have a fake fest, and I didn't plan on it to be the same band being tributed, but I've seen a Kiss tribute band.
Sure.
And I've also seen Mini Kiss.
I've heard of Mini. Band. I'm aware of Mini Kiss. There's a
they did a Dr. Pepper commercial with Kiss.
There was a whole essay, I think, in one of the earlier Chuck Klosterman books where he talked about tribute bands, and I think Mini Kiss was directly profiled in that piece, if I recall.
Oh, wow.
It's been a long time since I read that, but yeah. There's that, and then I think like there was like an all-women Poison tribute band or something. Again, Poison, not a band I would do. Like there's some. I mean, Kiss, I get it because of like the spectacle of it, and it's fun to recreate or whatever. And there's legitimately fun Kiss songs, but a songbook like ABBA's or the Beatles or I get why you want to do it. I mean, I also understand why people think it's silly. I used to think it was cheesy, but it's like, all these people are all these people from that era are going to be dead soon. So,
Yeah, but Poison, that's an interesting choice for a tribute band.
I'm not sure it was Poison. I'd have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure it was, there was like an all women, like hair metal. It was a specific band. I can't remember which band it was. I think it's Poison. I don't consider Guns N' Roses hair metal. It might have actually been Guns N' Roses, which makes more sense because there's like actually more than
bigger catalog,
more than like 3 songs that anybody would want to hear. So it's
I can't stand Bret Michaels.
Oh, he's such a clown.
I remember watching like I would just flipping through the channels and Rock of Love was on, and he was talking to this woman.
The sleaziest show.
Yeah, I know, and he was just like, when I wrote my Rose song, he kept referring to every thorn has every rose has its thorn as his Rose song, like, and he just kept mentioning the Rose song, and I'm like, this dude, he's disgusting.
Well, he like thinks like he wrote like yesterday, like it's so embarrassing. Every time you ever see him talk, he's just like, yeah, this is as good as like Bridge Over Troubled Water or whatever. Like like he like legitimately thinks he added an amazing song to the American songbook, and it's like, this song fucking sucks. It's cheese bullshit. Like I hate it, and your voice is annoying, and like I never liked Poison, even like during my brief, more sympathetic to 80s hair metal phase,
Mm-hmm.
which I never really was that into at all. Like I was a huge Guns N' Roses fan, but I just don't I think of them as kind of just in the, whatever, the Stones, Aerosmith lineage, not really a hair metal band.
No, yeah,
so it's
I agree with that.
And it's like, yeah, but like I never fell for like Motley Crue or any shit like that. It's always funny, like just corny bullshit to me.
It's funny you mention that because my mother has gone on this like rampage for the past year of like discovering like all the hair metal that she didn't like listen to in the 80s, and like every month
your mom
like
has
a new
weird
band.
Musical taste. The fact that your mom like in the last 5 years got into REM. And then also into hair metal. Those are like diametrically opposed.
She got in REM. She got obsessed with InXS. She got obsessed with
like those make sense.
Motley Crue. She got obsessed with.
See, that's the thing. There's not really. I don't think of those as things with a Venn diagram. But then on the other hand, I guess now that like rock is so thoroughly out of the center of the culture, like any kind of rock music, the distinctions matter less now. But it's like. That's weird, though. I mean, maybe I'm just like the youngest possible person to still care about that kind of thing, but it just seems weird.
My mother must have heard me talking about her through the force. She's calling me right now. You're gonna have to call her back when we're done.
All right. Yeah, I recommend it. If ABBA Mania comes through your town, listener, worth the $30 or $40 you'll pay. Like it's a solid, it's a great night of entertainment. I had a good time. So
I'm considering because I'm probably going to be home in the summer. I think it's either August or September. Billy Joel's coming to PNC Park, so I gotta knock that.
Seeing him and that's a beautiful ballpark, baby.
It is a beautiful. I haven't been to that ballpark since 5th grade. It's in 5th grade.
Never went to. I went to see the Pirates 2 or 3 times when I lived closer to there. But it was in Three Rivers Stadium when they shared the stadium with the Steelers. And I was briefly like really into baseball when I was a little kid, and I was a Pirates fan. So every time I flirt with the idea of like I should get back into baseball, I'm like, I guess I would have to be true to my young self and be a Pirates fan, even though I hate other Pittsburgh teams just because of their fans living around them. But I feel like that doesn't transfer to the Pirate fan base. Like the Steeler obnoxiousness doesn't seem to transfer to the Pirates fans. To me.
I'll tell you this: you seem like you would be a baseball guy. So at any point in your life, when you're just like, I'm a baseball head now, I'll be like, about damn time.
Well, I love basketball. I'm going to see the Cavs play the Sixers in March, which I'm really excited about. But I don't know. Baseball has been calling to me the last few months. I mean, they're not. It looks like they might not have a season this year, so it might not be the year to get in. Fucking lockout. But I don't know. But I love reading baseball books. I love watching documentaries about baseball. I love going to games, but the idea of like actually following a season for like the whole season just seems very daunting. Like
because their seasons are so huge,
162 games.
Yeah, and they're all hours of the day. There's no consistency.
You just have to follow it in a more casual way, but like just keep up with like the win-loss record. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't watch every Cavs game or anything.
I'll tell you this, because the guy I work with back home, he's a big Indians fan or whatever.
The Guardians now.
Yes, the Guardians, sorry. And if we were working, he'll turn the game on the radio. And man, his name is evading me, but their radio announcer, the Indians radio announcer, is fantastic. And I've heard the Pirates radio announce team, it's 2 guys, and they are so lame compared to the Guardians announcer.
Here's the problem is like, I am a Cavs fan. So that's a Cleveland team. That's the basketball team for the listeners who are like, I'm so mad they're talking about sports. That has been fully reinvigorated this year because their team is actually good, and I love Evan Mobley, and Darius Garland just got named to the All-Star team. Congratulations to Darius Garland. I'm sure he's waiting for my congratulations. I love that team. And, obviously, the championship team from 5 years ago is like a huge, I love it. So, but it's not, in some ways it's about geography because Cleveland is like 90 minutes away from where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like a kind of easily accessible team in that way. But that doesn't mean that if I get back into baseball, I want to be a Cleveland, now Guardians fan. First of all, they kept that name for 70 fucking years. Like, so fuck them. They kept their dumb mascot for so long. And, like, the Pirates just seem like more of a lost cause.
Yeah, they do.
They do, but on the other hand, they've won a World Series much more recently. Like, they won in like the 70s,
Yeah,
and my favorite baseball player of all time. When I was a kid, I became obsessed with Roberto Clemente.
Okay, all right.
And,
I know. I've heard that name before.
He's a legend. R.I.P. He died in a plane crash delivering like relief goods to Puerto Rico, where he's from. Mm. But I was obsessed with him, and he was like, he's the greatest player in the history of the Pirates. And I'm just like, kind of like, I don't have a direct, observable relationship to Roberto Clemente or those Pirates teams that were really good, because that was in the 60s and 70s. But like, I have that childhood love of him as a figure, so I'm like, that seems like enough to like be a Pirates fan. But the problem is that the Pirates have been like the cheapest team in Major League Baseball for the last like 25 years. They were decent when I was a little kid, like in the 90s. They were like a decent team. This was like after Barry Bonds left. They were like they made the playoffs a couple times, and I went to a couple games, like I think 2 games when I was a kid, and I was a big fan. But since then, when I fell out of it, and I was like, I like Star Wars, so I'm not allowed to like sports when I had that whole part of my life. Now I'm just like, I'm inching my way back into baseball, because, I've conquered the NBA. I have a decent, like, all-encompassing knowledge of basketball, and I love it, and I love watching it still, but I'm like, I kind of want to, like, take on a new sporting challenge, and, like, the only other team sport that appeals to me at all is baseball. Like, I hate football. Like, I just genuinely hate it.
Yeah.
Can't watch it. I find it so boring. People find baseball boring. I don't. but and like hockey, like I just culturally never, even though I live in like a fucking polar vortex town, it just never, culturally it just felt wrong to like hockey. Not wrong, like, not like morally wrong, just like it felt weird.
Cultural appropriation, Tim. That's you.
Oh yeah, I don't want to appropriate Canadian culture. I mean, yeah, as the white guy that loves basketball, but I will say, like, yeah, like so I think I am gonna try with baseball, because also there was, I'm obsessed with like just, it's such a long history. It's like, going back to the 19th century and shit. It's so fun to talk about. Let's talk about the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, let's open the book. We haven't talked a lot about the book.
Well, let's talk about it. It's not real. It shouldn't be called the Book of Boba Fett anymore.
No, because
the last 2 episodes are The Mandalorian.
The Book of Boba Fett ends on episode 4.
And I guess it's going to come back for 7, I guess.
I hope so.
Can I just say this? You told me last week, because I was a couple episodes behind.
Yeah.
Well, the new episode I love, and the new episode being episode 5, which was not the newest episode of the previous one, for those trying to keep track at home. And when I watched episode 5, I was like, oh, this is just an episode of The Mandalorian. I will say, I think 5 is a great episode of The Mandalorian.
I agree.
Across the board, I was like, this is getting me excited for Mando season 3. Cool. Thanks for the preview. Back to the book was my feeling. I will say this: Bryce Dallas Howard directed that episode. She obviously been watching the right stuff. That whole Naboo starfighter thing when he flies up into the atmosphere of Tatooine, like that's like shots directly lifted from the right stuff. I thought it was really fun, and I was like, this is cool. I liked the that space station he was on was super cool, like the ring thing, which is kind of like something from the old Marvel comics.
That keeps getting compared to something like from Halo too. I keep saying that they like ripped that. It's not an
like
original idea.
It's the Ring World. There's like Larry Niven. Like there's a million things that are like, they're all. Halo certainly didn't originate.
Yeah.
I'll say
that. Interstellar ends with Ring World, so you know, similar. Not the way we see it in Mando, but yeah.
But it was cool, and those shots were really awesome. Like where you can see like the distance, like the full scope of it. And my guy Din getting excommunicated from. There's only 2 of those freaks left. Those we gotta wear our mask all the time freaks.
Yeah, and I like that they call themselves the Watch, and I feel like they're just like they're the remnants of Death Watch.
Yeah,
at this
I think
point,
that's the idea.
And that's like all that's left. And you got Pax Vizsla, who I assume is a distant cousin of Pre Vizsla, and
my guy Din. Sane Wizard, that was great.
Yeah, that actually
an iconic moment.
Mel, when he got in the Naboo Starfighter, Mel's like, he's gonna say Wizard, and then 5 minutes later, he said Wizard, and
very
she was
impressive.
Screaming.
She has a mind meld with Favreau right
now. I know. All of that respect he was shooting at episode 1 in that episode was just everything, because they basically lift the pod race too. You go to all the same locations of the pod race. And the Naboo Starfighter, I'm sure Doug Chang was excited whenever John told him, hey, we're going to use that Naboo Starfighter design that you designed 20 plus years ago.
That's the Doug Chang.
Yep.
I loved that episode.
Fantastic.
Episode 6, I have more complicated feelings about. There are things about it that I was really into. There's one big thing, and I think we should just get this out of the way and then talk about the rest.
Yeah.
I just don't think the Luke stuff is not working for me. Like,
I think Luke's putting too much pressure on Grogu. He seems like he's like peer pressuring him almost. That's my view of Luke.
Well, if you want to talk about it on a character level, sure. I actually I think he has to behave this way in order for it to line up with the sequel trilogy. The biggest problem I always had with the Luke stuff in the sequels was not the same stuff that people whined about, really, but my biggest issue is that I just don't really believe that Luke, in his effort to rebuild the Jedi Order, would make literally all the same mistakes of the Jedi. This idea that Jedi can't have human attachments or whatever. That is so clearly, if you look at the arc of the 6 movies as they exist, that's clearly like the thematic arc of those 6 films, which is about like the idea of like being like, just because you're part of this order shunning these personal attachments actually makes them this individual, despite seeming like a collective, makes them more of this like individualist, American individualism, whatever. And that by the end, it's actually about, your faith in your friends is yours. That's the most, I'm just like, to me, that's like a clear rejection of that part of Jedi ideology. And when Luke rebuilds the Jedi after that movie, I always assumed that part of it, like, whatever, including the celibacy thing or whatever, but like that part would not be part of it. And so any interpretation where that is part of it kind of bums me out. I don't see why. I just don't really buy the idea that Luke, after everything he went through in the original trilogy, would be like, yeah, you can't see your guy, you can't see the Mandalorian. I just don't really buy that. I don't but they kind of have to play it that way because it's in the same continuity as the sequels. So you do have to build up to that. And also, my biggest issue with Luke's characterization in this movie versus the sequels, because in Last Jedi, which is the only one he's really in, but like in that movie, you might have issues with what happened in his life, but the characterization, he still felt like a full person, not just like stoic Jedi man. You know what I mean? He made jokes. He had like other elements of his character. I don't love his characterization here, where he's just like, he doesn't seem to have anything else going on. Like,
right.
yeah, I'm not in love with that.
Yeah, and it's like he's talking about, forgoing attachments, and it's like, so where are Leia and Han in your life right now? Where's Chewie in your life right now? So it feels a little weird. I do think though that the technology to make Luke young looks much better this time around.
It looked better, but the length of it bothered me more. If that makes sense.
Well, here's what I'm thinking.
No.
He makes Grogu choose, and I think Grogu, he's got to choose the Mandalorian because Mando, in his Naboo Starfighter, they took out the astromech part and they put a little dome over that, and you know who would fit perfectly back in the back seat of that?
That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. I agree. I think that's clearly what they're setting up. I think it's weird they're choosing to do that in Book of Boba Fett. To me, like, the first one made sense if it's like, okay, well, he's going to join Boba's crew to fight what are their names again?
The Pikes.
The Pikes. Like, that makes sense. Like, here's a little taste of what Mando's been up to. Like, that made sense to do it one. But then this episode is like mostly doesn't even involve Mando. So it's like
no.
So it's just this kind of like completely separate thing, you know what I mean?
And you know what's crazy is in episode 5, Boba Fett does not appear. And in episode 6, Boba Fett appears and does not speak. He has no speaking line. The only time Tamura speaks in the episode is when he's voicing the clone troopers during the Jedi Temple flashback.
That's true, yeah.
That's the only time Tamura speaks.
Well, I mean, I will say, like, you know, as far as the technology goes, like, obviously, like, I don't have any, like, real, you know, moral issue with it the way I did with, say, Tarkin, because obviously Hamill's alive to approve it or you know, be involved in whatever way he's involved, and that's fine. I do think they'd be better. I don't know exactly how they're doing the vocal performance, because like in the behind the scenes for season 2, there was like it was some combo of Hamill, the third actor, and an AI,
like
thing.
A synthesizer sort of thing. Yeah,
I think you could easily just have Hamill record the vocals. And, like, if he can't do it himself, although he's a talented voice actor, so he might be able to, but if he can't, then just pitch his voice up a little bit to make him sound younger.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
I think that would just having, like, I think that would help ease some of the, like, weirdness of it to have his, like, real voice coming out of there. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, because, like, you know, also, this is 7 years post-Jedi. They did not need to make him look like he did in Return of the Jedi. He could have looked a little bit older, so they could have pulled a more of an Irishman thing where it's like, you can't make him look that young, but you can make him look younger than he looks now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I agree.
I don't know. Like,
he doesn't need to be wearing the same outfit either. He could have like a new wardrobe too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they need to. I assume Kilo has probably been born very recently in this timeline, or is about to be born. So they have to get rid of Grogu from the Luke thing. So I don't think it's going to be a huge concern going forward, that part of it for me. But, like, you know, and I thought I was a little bit underwhelmed by the Luke Ahsoka scene, frankly. I wanted more out of that.
You know what, I'll say this. So whenever I was totally shocked when Ahsoka showed up. I wasn't expecting that surprise at all.
Either.
And then she says, "Oh, I'm an old friend of the family's," and then looks at R2. And I immediately started thinking about all the adventures R2 and Ahsoka had during the Clone Wars. And that, like, I started welling up with tears. I was like, oh, man, R2 and Ahsoka. And then I'm, like, thinking, like, is Ahsoka R2's best friend? Like, do they have more in common? Because, like, 3PO, I sometimes wonder if he's more of an annoyance to R2.
But Luke is R2's best friend.
Well, but is that because R2 feels compelled that it's like, this is the son of Anakin Skywalker, I have to stay with him? Like,
initially, but like Luke and R2 have been through the shit together.
They have been through the shit together.
You know, Dagobah and all that stuff. I don't know.
But him and Ahsoka have been through the shit together too.
Yeah. I mean, like, this is not a shot at Ahsoka. I love Ahsoka, but it's like
whenever she says the thing to him like, oh, just like your father, it was like what she's referring to made no sense to me. Like whatever she was.
Well, I'm very curious with the upcoming Ahsoka show. I imagine we'll get more. We might get more Luke in that. Jeez, I don't know, but that's weird. I don't know. It's weird that But regardless, I just thought like it felt like they had already had the conversation. Like, so that was just a disappointment to me. I was like, I kind of want to see that conversation. Like, if you're gonna bring Luke in, I mean, my thing always was after Rebels. You haven't finished Rebels. You should do that.
Yeah,
I always thought after Rebels that the follow-up series with Ahsoka would be animated post. So that never seemed weird. Like, oh yeah, and they can have the scene with Luke and Hamill can come back and do the voice or whatever. But I was like, but now that it's like going to be a live action thing with like this weird CG Luke or whatever. Like, I also like, yeah, it's weird that it seems like that happened off screen, like Ahsoka and Luke talking about Anakin. Like,
yeah,
I wanted that on screen. Like, that's a weird, especially for a show. And I don't even say this with much malice. Like, it's a dirty word in a lot of circles, and fair enough. But like for a show that is as willing to do like fan service as these shows are, like it's very weird to me that they're like, yeah, that's gonna have happened off screen. Like that's weird. Because like the moment we get is like it feels like that should be like the fifth scene we have between those characters.
Yeah, we have so little time with them together. What else happened in that episode?
Well, if you want to go back to Tatooine, we got the King Timothy Oliphant coming back.
Yeah,
and then the King Cad Bane coming. That was stunning. I was blown away when Cad Bane showed up. I was not I know, like you were like, is he going to be in it? I was like, I was not expecting it for whatever reason. And
I was surprised by it too, because whenever you see that figure like walking towards Cobb Vanth, like you can't tell who it is, and it's not until like the third shot they show of you kind of like recognize the hat. And as soon as they saw the hat, I was like, oh shit, it's about to get real.
Cool. I hope that Cobb Vanth is alive.
I think he's alive.
I think
the deputy is 100% dead. I think Cobb's alive because
the deputy is such a dipshit. I was so annoyed with him. Like I was like, get the fuck out of here, deputy. Like but Cobb, the Timothy Oliphant character, for those of you who might not know the name, although you're listening to Padawan Library.
Yeah.
Unless you're like two of our listeners. But he's so good, and I was like, like he should give him a spin-off. Like I was like, he's so fucking cool. Like I need it made me. I was like, I really should like go back and watch Justified. He's just so cool. I love Deadwood. He's a
Deadwood's on my radar to maybe watch someday just because of Oliphant. So
great show.
So there's that. My girl Garza Flip is presumably passed away. I'm very annoyed about that. However, Max Rebo not present in the scene, so I think it's safe to assume that Max survived the explosion.
I know, I agree. You were texting with Sam during the intermission for ABBA Mania.
Yeah, he said you agreed that Max is alive. And
he's like,
if they're hanging out.
Fucking Levi thinks that Max is dead. And I was like, I don't think so. And he was just like, yeah, obviously not.
The drummer Astromech droid is unfortunately dead, who I thought that was a great character there.
Was great. I love that.
I want that Black Series figure, drum set and all. That's what they need to make.
If you want it, then you'll have to pray that you find it in a fucking Walgreens 7 years from now.
It's worse than that. Those fucking Black Series figures are worse than that because you have to pre-order things. You have to go on Walmart and pre-order.
The entire action figure market, I thought briefly, I was like, I should maybe start up a Dr. Zaius collection. I was thinking of trying to get every Dr. Zaius that's ever been made. Mm-hmm. Dumb thing that I won't do. But I was looking into the more recent Apes stuff, and it's you have to pre-order everything, and these bots buy everything up, and it's an absolute disaster. The whole thing. It's the Toys R Us closing has absolutely gutted that business. It was already bad before that, but now it's
Mhm.
like it's an absolute disaster. And like, listen, that's probably good for me and my money, and like space, but it's what it is. Anyway, so
Yep.
I
But
thought I'm actually pretty excited about the finale because I'm like, it's going to be a Book of Boba Fett episode. I see the general consensus seems to be that these episodes have revealed that Book of Boba Fett is bad because these Mandalorian episodes that they just plopped in the middle like got people excited. And I see what they meant with that first one because I think the first one was the best episode of the season and like the first Mando episode. And like that's a great Mandalorian episode. But I thought the second one was an absolute mess. No shots at our fellow alumni Dave Filoni, but like I thought it was a mess. It was like it was just trying to do 50 different things, It
was doing a lot in a
and
Book
none
of
of them
Boba Fett.
were Book of Boba Fett,
No. Since that episode, because I'm psyched for the finale, I've rewatched every episode twice, but it's on the week of it comes out. So like when the first episode came out, I immediately rewatched it the second time. So I figured, how does the Book of Boba Fett feel when it's watched in order, binged basically?
I might, yeah.
And it works better for me because once you understand how the Bacta tank story plotting works, then it's like a little bit easier to put together.
I never had that huge. I saw a lot of people that never seemed that complicated to me.
It's once you figure it out, it's not. But they make the Bacta tank. The Bacta tank it's kind of wonky because at first they make Boba Fett seem like he's dying. All right. In the second episode, when they get attacked by those assassins, Boba Fett takes like a hit and he says to the Gamorreans, "Quick, get me to my Bacta tank," like he's about to like keel over and die, which makes you think that this man has some sort of a disease. There's something wrong with him. But then in episode 4, Fennec, she makes the thing after he dives back into the Sarlacc to find the armor. She's like, what you need is a Bacta tank. And it's after that flashback, you get the droid that says, "Congratulations, Master Fett, you are 100% healed."
Yeah.
Which was very corny.
That was very silly. I mean, listen, I think the Boba Fett episodes, the first 4, are very silly. I'm not like
extremely silly.
I'm not denying the silliness of it, but I think that's fun. Like to me, Star Wars should have a level of silliness. Like the cantina scene is silly. Like and you're on Tatooine and you got the Jabba's palace and all that. Like let's have some fun. Like let's be a little goofy, cut loose. I'm fine with that. My issue with Boba Fett in particular is that I'm not in love with like super sweet guy Boba as a thing. Like I think the performance is good and I'm enjoying him, and again, I don't have a problem with it because the character is so blank that you can do whatever you want with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine, but in general, I prefer Boba Fett to be a little more ruthless. They try to explain that with the Lawrence of Arabia backstory and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I will say episode 4, which we didn't really talk about because it wasn't the Mando thing, but like that episode is very silly in a good way. Robert is like, I still have unfinished business with Alita Battle Angel. You know what I'm saying? So
I know.
That whole thing where he brings Fennec's body to the
the mod shop.
Mod shop is, first of all, the score. I was saying, I know Ludwig is just doing the themes for this series, but Ludwig is one of Ludwig's like. Did he hire Don Davis, who did the original Matrix score, to do the score on that scene because it was like the most Matrix vibe, it's like thing. I don't know. I was I'm looking forward to the finale because I was enjoying the goofier tone, and I loved episode 5, but yeah, episode 6. It just felt like lots of we need to get this all established before Mando season 3. Like, let's get the Grogu
it's
moving.
so goofy.
And I was just kind of like, that could have been episode 1. Like, I think 5 obviously could have been episode 1 of Mando season 3, but like 6 really could have been. Like, there's no,
Yeah.
like, we didn't actually need that stuff. Like, I did love that Mando, the Beskar was making a little chainmail tunic
Yeah, I know.
for Grogu.
It's so goofy. But the thing
I will say, the fact that this is the most popular thing in the world, like the Mandalorian universe in general, is wild, because it is very weird. Like, if you think about some of the like if you just explain a lot of this on paper to somebody, even somebody that's familiar with Star Wars, like, there's a lot of very goofy shit, like, and Boba Fett became the daimyo of Tatooine.
I love the use of daimyo, because it is so funny. And one of the cyberpunks, whenever Boba Fett meets the cyberpunks,
yeah. By the way, the fucking like teenagers from Dimension X from that episode of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are fucking like in this.
They're supposed to be these punks stealing water, and they are dressed like they are the cool kids at school. Like, they have the cleanest, freshest looking clothing imaginable.
Well, they're
driving
hilarious.
Vespas, you know.
I mean, I think that's kind of like an attempt to be like, well, if you look at like the deleted scene from New Hope set at Tashi Station, it's kind of like the most American Graffiti vibe you get in that movie. And like, I think that's the idea there, and I appreciate that on some level, but it's like, it's also like, just reminds me, like, I don't know, I know you weren't like a huge turtle kid, but like, it reminds me, there's an episode, I think it's like the 5th episode of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon. I think it's called Teenagers from Dimension X. That's like about like these cool hot rodding teenagers. I think I might what it's called. They ride like hot rods. They wear like candy colored outfits, and I was like, this is like, it's so wild. I don't know. Like, it's just I enjoy it. It's just like, for something that like it to me is proof that a lot of studios that run these franchises, Disney included, more broadly beyond this, are way too fucking scared of doing weird shit. Because this is very individual and idiosyncratic, goofy shit that is very popular. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
to me, that stuff is so the Boba Fett stuff, because the goofiest things that are with the actual parts about Boba Fett, to me, feel so Rodriguez. Like in terms of like almost like a Spy Kid sort of like fashion. Him with the Rancor, you know. The fact that we're probably going to see Boba Fett on the back of the Rancor in the next episode.
He's going to be riding into battle on top of the Rancor. I can't believe it.
It's going to be crazy.
That is super Rodriguez.
So I wonder how much Rodriguez has influence over just the Boba Fett parts, because
I imagine that he is. I know, like, Favreau has the writing credit on pretty much every episode, except this most recent one was a co-write with Filoni, I think.
Yeah, yes.
I would imagine that a lot of the Boba Fett stuff, it wasn't obviously left exclusively to Rodriguez, but I imagine he is kind of the director of that part of it. And then there's the little Mando detour that is all John and Dave, you know. But it's like, because it does feel very Rodriguez. I was like, don't you think it's weird? And like, this is not a shot, but like, isn't it weird that the guy, like, there's I think 2 cinematographers on this series. One of them is Dean Cundey, the legend, who we've talked about. He did not shoot the first episode. So I guess he did not establish the visual template of the show. The guy who shot the first episode and the rest of the episodes that weren't Cundey is Dave Klein, who shot fucking Clerks. and is like Kevin Smith's guy, and like he's also shot like some more ambitious stuff. Like he's grown and everything, but it's just weird to me that I'm like, the guy that shot Jurassic Park is like playing second banana to the guy that shot Clerks. That's weird. Like,
it is strange. It is a baffling choice. Oh man!
But I mean, on the other hand, I'm sure Rodriguez probably knows Dave Klein from, you know, way back. They were all Miramax people.
Yeah,
so,
baby.
Yikes, but it is what it is.
But Boba, he loves
Although
He
didn't Dave
loves
Klein
animals.
he worked on Mando, so he might have already been in-house.
Okay. But Boba, he loves animals. Him and that bantha was heartwarming. There's trees. There's apparently a tree on Tatooine somewhere because they had to get the gaffy stick wood from somewhere, which is crazy to think about.
That is super interesting,
Boba
Well, how
Fett-
much of Tatooine have we actually seen? Like, that is worth talking about because, like, it's obviously a desert planet. I don't want them to just introduce that it's like, actually, like, that's just, like, a very small part of the planet or whatever. But we've only really been... We have Mos Eisley, Mos Espa, Arrowhead...
Anchorhead.
I'm sorry, did I say Arrowhead?
Yeah,
Anchorhead.
And Mos Pelgo.
Mos Pelgo
now known as Freetown.
But I get the idea that those are all roughly in the same region because people travel very quickly between them. So and I guess the Dune Sea, we've seen a lot of it, but it's like, it's a big planet though, we've seen the planet and its relative size, I mean, so I'm just curious if there are, not that if there, like, I'm not expecting there to be other, ecosystems really, but like, yeah, that does open the door for like, oh, maybe somewhere there's a more habitable, part of Tatooine that is unknown.
I was gonna get on to my favorite line of my favorite line delivery of the entire book, and it's the one cyberpunk when Boba Fett meets them and he says, "This is the workers' district, shouldn't you be working?" And she turns and she looks at Boba Fett and she goes, "There is no work, mighty daimyo."
I will say, like, just make Alita 2, man. Like,
I know.
It needs to happen.
He has so much unfinished business, like, with Alita. Like, you can tell, like, he's all over Alita still. James wants Alita 2.
Of course he does. Happen. Yeah, it should happen.
He's got to get that Avatar 2 money
he
can make
people
Alita 2.
Better fucking go see that. These clowns. I don't want to hear about it. I went off, like, I was hanging out with some friends last weekend, and I, like, just went. None of them attacked Avatar in any way, but I just, for some reason, was just like, these fucking Avatar haters. Like, I just complained about them for 20 minutes straight. Whatever. It's fine. I'm very excited. We're getting close enough that I don't think they're going to push it again.
I don't think they're going to push it either. It's going to happen. It's for sure happening.
Are you going
to get a next gen gaming console to play the video game?
No.
No.
I mean, I'm curious about it, but Cameron, I trust not to make it like impossible to follow the sequel without knowing.
Right.
Like he's a master. Like he's a master of like classical storytelling. Like he knows what to do. I'm not worried about that. So maybe at some point I'll play the game, but I imagine it might be after Avatar 4 or something when I can afford a next gen gaming console. Whatever the next gen gaming console will be available on is.
I saw the other day that we're on PlayStation 5, and I was like, I thought we were on 4. Where did this
now,
5 come from?
5 came out like in like November 2020, and like I think it's still like impossible to get, basically.
Probably, yeah.
Like from what I've heard, yeah. So it's not like easily accessible. Whereas 4, there's still like you can just get it on shelves, It's not, but
I'm going to suggest an idea. What if instead of the Boba Fett we got more of a Tony Soprano-esque Boba Fett, where it's just like he's this man who's dealing with all this inner confliction, and he's got all this shit being thrown at him as the daimyo, and like
I would love that. I mean, listen, I would. They loved. They sold this weirdly as like the Godfather of Star Wars, which is absolutely absurd. Maybe the biggest load of horse shit I've ever heard somebody try to spew about, like, in promo in their project. You know what I mean? Like, it has, like, you could, by the way, they could have compared it to a classic movie that lots of people love, like, and would have been accurate to say it's the Lawrence of Arabia of Star Wars. Because they literally, like, just for the first 2 episodes, are just doing doing my guy Larry. Like they're doing him up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I don't. Whereas the Godfather, what? Just because he's a crime boss?
He's the daimyo.
Like there's nothing about it that's Godfather-esque in any way. Like I don't like at all. Like yeah, no. So I would be down if they wanted to do like a kind of more mob inspired. I mean, I guess they're probably thinking just of that one scene at the end of 4 when Boba like meets with like the equivalent of the 5 families or whatever.
Yep.
Like, but that's not that much like the Godfather. Like, whatever. Like, that's like what else? Like, is Fennec like Kay in this situation? No, like they're not romantically involved. Boba Fett's too nice a guy. Like Michael Corleone by the time you start Godfather 2 is like the embodiment of evil. You know what I'm saying? Like he's like Satan himself, So whereas this is like a redemption narrative for Boba Fett.
Yeah, I know. And it's
like Godfather is literally the opposite. It's like literally the opposite character arc.
What I think is like, I always at every point during the show in Tamura's performance bought that this is that 10-year-old boy we met on Camino. Like this, sure. and he still has a childlike charm about him. Like
none of this is really a criticism. I'm just talking. I just find the whole like thing where like directors or filmmakers who are working on a big franchise, seemingly to justify it to themselves, need to compare it to like the best movies ever made, and just like relax. It's okay. First of all, I think that the Book of Boba Fett is like very like idiosyncratic and worthwhile and fun. Like I don't think it's I don't think it has to be like prestige-y in order to be worthwhile or more interesting like a Marvel movie or whatever. It's like, but like the Marvel people are experts at this, where it's like the Russo brothers come out and they're like, yeah, Winter Soldier, it's like the parallax view. No, it's fucking not. It's a Captain America movie, and that's fine. I'm not even really talking shit, but like, it's a Captain America movie. It's not like the parallax view just because Robert Redford's not from the parallax view, but just because you cast Robert Redford doesn't make it one of those movies. Like that's dumb. And like, when the fucking new Spider-Man movies were coming out, the first one, the Homecoming, and they're like, yeah, it's like a John Hughes movie.
Yeah, I remember that.
By the way, I'm not even like the biggest John Hughes fan in the world, but it's like, no, it's not. And like, I also then knew right away that as soon as they compared it to Hughes, I was just like, well, that shows that they're like basic, like not true, like high school movie aficionados. Because I'm like, the guy from the 80s that matters is Cameron Crowe. Like, Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Say Anything are, like, so much better than every John Hughes movie. It's pathetic. It makes it just destroys every John Hughes movie.
Give me the River's Edge of Spider-Man movies. That's what I want.
I don't want that. You want some. I do think like a Fast Times at Ridgemont High style Spider movie sounds great. That's not what we got, and whatever. I don't know. I'm not even. Why am I getting into Spider-Man?
But we don't need to get into
Spider-Man. I generally find that whole line of thinking, it's like, it's a way to make the fans of this stuff feel like actually what I care about is also not just like fun and like entertaining and like totally worthwhile on those terms. It's also like high art, and that means like fuck Martin Scorsese. You know what I mean? Like it's like like that's the whole thing. That's why I find like Joker to be a really obnoxious movie, because it's like it using the signifiers of quote unquote good cinema to like say nothing really, and to like just like be a story that a brand extension of Batman. And again, I like Batman. Like this is not like, and Batman Returns I think is a capital G great film. Like I don't like, it's possible for a superhero movie to be a great movie. But like I just find the whole thing frustrating. I don't know. How are you feeling about the Batman?
I'm excited for the Batman.
I am too. It looks good.
Because you know what, Matt? He's put out some good movies, some good Apes films.
I like his movies. I like Cloverfield.
And I was reading this thing where he was talking about, when he was brought on board, they still had the Affleck script. And, he looked at it. He goes, you know what? If I'm going to do this, this is someone else's vision. I got to do it my way. And I'm going to write my own Batman movie. And I'm going to
I
do it
appreciate
exactly.
that.
And it's going to be long, but I think it's
3 hours, right?
Yeah, it is very close to 3 hours.
Well, it's 2:55, and this is a thing I'm going to complain about that is very narrow. Do you ever use Letterboxd on your computer?
No, I don't.
Okay. So I don't know if it's just because I have like ad blocker on it, but now when I go on the Letterboxd website, I get this little pop-up window in the corner that's like a scrolling like news feed of like movie news, which I actively avoid movie news. Like it's an annoying thing. And so it's like, but it's also clearly like generated by an AI because there's always like these weird mistakes. Like I can't remember like it said that Robert Evans is starring in that new show about The Godfather. I'm like, Robert Evans is dead and not an actor. like there's like just funny things like that. But they had one when the runtime was announced for Batman, for the Batman, and it said it's 3 hours and 55 minutes. So that's the first time I was like, there's no way it's 4 hours long. Like this is not some Snyder cut bullshit. Like I was like, so I like looked it up. I was like, 2 hours and 55 minutes. But it's just funny. I hate that thing, and I have to close it. It literally refreshes every time you go to a different page on Letterboxd. It shows up. It drives me insane. Like Letterboxd, get it together. Like you're supposed to be a haven from all of this bullshit to me. Like, get rid of reviews on Letterboxd too. Why not? Just let me log things.
Yeah, I'm excited because we're getting two very good actors who I really enjoy. Dano, I'm very excited for Dano. Have you ever seen Taking Lives with Ethan Hawke and Angelina Jolie?
I haven't. I know he's in that. Yeah. Okay,
so it's very Seven-sploitation is how I would describe it.
The tail end of that Seven waves. That's like what, mid-2000s.
Yeah, and Dano is playing the younger version of like the serial killer at the beginning of the movie, and like he's only in this opening scene, but like it is so good it is such a good Dano role. It's very fun.
I love Dano. He's a great actor. I feel like he got like, I remember, nobody remembers this now because this movie's just so canonized and people love it, but like I remember when There Will Be Blood came out, like it was a very popular take to be like, that Dano kid can't fucking like, he's like not surviving in those scenes with Daniel Day. You know what I'm saying? So, which I never really bought into, and now I think that's not like, that movie's just such a like beloved object that nobody's really bitching about that anymore. But I always loved him in that, and like I just think he's. Did you see that movie he directed, Wildlife?
No, I didn't.
With Carey Mulligan and Jake Gyllenhaal. Really good movie. But anyway, he's a talented guy. I enjoy his movies and his performances. And he's playing the Riddler.
Yes, he is the Riddler. And then our boy from Winter's Tale, Colin Farrell, is.
We never talked about Winter's Tale on the show. Maybe we did. We must have.
Maybe, or was that Missing Reels? I don't know.
It wasn't that long ago, but yeah. Anyway,
But Colin, which is I read an interview with Colin, being that the movie's 3 hours long. Colin said he's only in the movie for like 9 minutes. And he's very excited about that.
Because he's doing that TV show.
Well, he said he's very excited about that because he doesn't like watching himself perform in movies. And he's like, it's great. I get to deal with myself for 9 minutes, and then I get to enjoy an entire Batman movie afterwards. He was very excited.
The Dumbo King.
Yes.
Dumbo came just before this show, but you were a huge Dumbo fan, right?
I was very impressed with Dumbo.
Yeah, I love Dumbo. Me and my friend Chris were just talking about how we're like the Dumbo boys. Like, we just love the Dumbo remake.
That should be the name of the next podcast we do, the Dumbo boys.
Oh, anyway, so I'm excited for it. Like, I have to say the weather is trying to stop me from my project, but I have 5 shows lined up for the next 5 days to see 5 different movies.
Oh, okay. So you're gonna.
I'm seeing Jackass Forever today.
Uh-huh.
After this recording, and then I'm probably gonna see the 355 tomorrow. Finally catch up on that. Thankfully, nothing has left yet. My theater that. Because if the fans don't know, I'm trying to see every wide release film.
Yeah, and it's this month, like February, January has been bad in terms of releases.
Yeah, like I haven't really been wanting to see, and I have to see. This has been the real holdup.
You have to go see Moonfall, right?
Well, I have. Yeah, that just came out. Jesus. So I have to see Moonfall. And the real holdup, though, Moonfall, like, that's kind of funny. Like, I'm, like, not, like, I don't want to see it, but I'm also kind of like, it'll be funny to see that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but, like, I have to go see Redeeming Love.
Oh.
Which is not, like, I don't think it's, like, a God's Not Dead kind of Christian movie. I think it's a little more anodyne than that. But, like, you know. It's also 2 hours and 15 minutes. I was like, God damn it, like so long. And then there's another movie that came out this weekend that just edged my threshold. It's 1,005 theaters. I was so pissed, and it did come here too. So like, it's called The Wolf and the Lion, which isn't that the name of a Sean Connery movie with John Milius?
Yeah,
that's a John Milius movie, right?
Yeah, I've seen that movie, and that movie, like, that's
a good movie.
It's crazy good, I mean, because there's also like the Teddy Roosevelt stuff going on in it too, and that performance is also incredible. Like, I watched that one night. Mel had gone to bed, and like,
that's The Wind and the Lion.
The Wind and the Lion. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I watched that one night with my mother-in-law, and we were both just like floored by that movie. We couldn't believe it.
It's a fun movie. I like it a lot. Milius is hit or miss for me, but that's one of his hits, in my opinion.
So you have to go see this. What even is that movie?
It's called The Wolf and the Lion. It has Graham Greene in it, the Native American actor. I don't actually really know anything about it. It looks harmless. Like, I'm sure it's fine. Like, it would be less of an annoyance if I hadn't like stalled on 355 and Redeeming Love for so long.
Wow, this sounds it's gonna be fun, Tim. Yeah. It is a wolf pup and a lost lion cub are rescued by a girl in the heart of the Canadian wilderness. Their friendship will change their lives forever.
Hey, that sounds heartwarming enough. I just want to be caught up before next week when Marry Me comes out, and
Death on the Nile also.
And Death on the Nile, which I'll be seeing both of those. So it's like I'm very excited for Marry Me.
I'm very excited for Marry Me too.
I mean, it doesn't actually really look good. I'm just very excited for like a big budget studio romantic comedy, like with like real movie stars. You know what I mean? Like I'm just I'm excited for this.
I saw the trailer with Jackass last night for The Lost City. Have you seen the Lost City trailer yet?
Oh, with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum and fucking Brad Pitt. I was in shock when he showed up.
I know.
Okay. That's okay. That trailer, like I was like, this looks whatever, not bad, but I was like, it looks fine, whatever. But then when Pitt shows up, first of all, it looks like that's an extended cameo. That looks like having Bill Murray in the Zombieland trailer.
Yeah.
Like he just like, I was like, but yeah, no, I'm excited. I love, Pitt. I'll see anything with Pitt. So it's like, it looks like they're giving it a shot trying to make like that's an action rom-com, but like still.
Yeah, I'm excited. I got excited for that yesterday. I am so tired because they play the same trailers every time at AMC. I am exhausted of the freaking Sonic the Hedgehog 2 trailer. I cannot stand that trailer anymore. It looks so bad. You have to go see it, so it sucks to you. I'm also pissed that they pushed back the Morbius release date.
Again?
It's like coming out in April now or something like that.
Okay. I thought like again from April, but I'm so tired of that trailer.
I am so tired of that trailer too. I can't believe they pushed it back. Like they seems like they would want to do that right on the heels of Spider-Man, but who knows? Venom is still playing at the AMC here.
It's still here too.
It's crazy. It's like crazy.
How long is Spider-Man going to be there? Like, that's a real hit. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, Venom did okay, but like Spider-Man's like a genuine no qualifiers hit.
It's
so how long is that going to be there?
The theater has at least one screening of Venom per day, and that must mean that it is still making money. That like at least every day somebody shows up to see Venom.
Not just one person, probably at least like a dozen to 24 people minimum. They're not. They wouldn't keep the screen open for that. Like, yeah, no,
because that came out October, so now it's October, November,
the
December, January. It's been in theaters 5 months.
It's having a fucking Titanic run, but with like, but only making $200 million. Like, so weird. Like, yeah, no, I don't know. We'll see. I've been enjoying it so far. I'm just glad that there's like.
I wonder when the Blu-ray release date is for Venom.
It's got to be out soon. Like, I'd imagine it might be out now.
It is out. It's already out.
Yeah. It's so weird. What? Like, I don't get it. Speaking of Blu-ray, I ordered some 4Ks this morning.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it came out in December on Blu-ray.
December?
December.
So it's been playing for over a month, like a month and a half.
It came out December 14th, right in time for Christmas.
God, almost 2 months after its home video release. That is crazy. I never got around to Nightmare Alley, unfortunately, but you see it's on Hulu now?
No, I didn't.
It just like popped up on. I almost went last week because they released that black and white version.
Yeah,
but I was like, I don't want to see it in black and white first. It's not a black and white movie, you know.
No.
Like I was so like, yeah. I'll watch that soon.
I had toyed going to see the black and white version just because I wanted to go to the movies and nothing had come out. But then I was just like, but it's the same movie. I don't need to see it again. And
I don't get the whole black and white thing. Like, there are movies I really like that have done it. Like, but I would never watch Mad Max Fury Road in black and white. Why would I? No shots at my guy George Miller. Like, I love him, but like, why would I want to watch that movie in black and white? Like, of all movies, like that thing looks fucking awesome. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't. And like the one that did work for me, I remember when it came out, was the Mist. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
That there's a Frank Darabont Stephen King adaptation that is actually good. I think it's his best movie. I'm not a huge Shawshank person, but like, so it's like, but that movie was supposed to be in black and white, if I recall, and the studio wouldn't let him do that. As opposed to these other ones where it's just like, isn't it fun to have a black and white version? Like I guess I don't need one. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, and what else? Logan, I think, did it. Like,
yeah, Logan did it. Mm-hmm.
And I hate to say it because I love Fury Road, and this movie is in every other way different from all these movies, but in a lot of ways, I'm like, this feels like kind of like, take our big blockbuster seriously. Like, as a movie.
Yeah, I know.
Not Nightmare Alley, because that's not what that movie is, but like, you know, like, but like that's a different thing. But like, and I love Fury Road, you know, but it's like everybody took that seriously already. That is like very serious. That film is taken seriously. You know what I'm saying? And like, and the other one, yeah, but Logan, and I like Logan, another movie that is taken pretty seriously. I think that movie got nominated for best screenplay. Like, I know, like so it's like nobody was not taking it seriously. Like, I don't know, it's weird.
Anyway, yep. Very excited for Marry Me. I want to go see Death on the Nile because I've seen Murder on the Orient Express, but Mel is refusing.
Did she hate death? Did she hate murder?
I don't even remember. It was one of those 1,000 movies I saw when I had Movie Pass, and I just went because I could go see it, and I thought it was fine.
I didn't see it. I'm not a huge fan from the trailers of Branagh's Perot. But you know, whatever. I don't think you will. I'm not going to catch up with it. So like, I'm just going to see. I mean, there's no reason I have to. So we'll see. I mean, it's, you know.
But Mel is if she is demanding we go see Cyrano, which
I'm excited about that.
I can't find the excitement for it. But I said to her when we were at the
theater. But that's technically a 2021 movie, so I don't have to see it.
Okay, all right.
Because it played in like 2 theaters.
Right.
But
we were passing the poster for Ambulance. The new Michael Bay joint. And I was like, we're seeing that, right? And she goes, no. And I was like, well, if you take me to Cyrano, we're going to see Ambulance. I
hate Bay. I'll be seeing it because of my project. But it's like, I find Bay auteurs to be unbearable people. Some of them I really like, by the way. I know people that I appreciate their feelings about movies, but I find the Bay auteur streak to be obnoxious. I'm like, yes, he is an auteur. That does not make him good. His movies are terrible and always have been. The Transformers movies just accentuated all the problems, but he's always been bad. I kind of like The Rock, but that movie's horribly directed. He's a bad director. His action is incomprehensible, and not in a controlled Michael Mann way. You know what I mean? I don't know. Speaking of Michael Mann putting out his novel Heat 2, I just pre-ordered that. I love that the book is called Heat 2. I love it. I'm very excited for that. All right, we should get to the book. So
we need to close this book and open our other book, Rebel Force number 4. No, not 4, number 6.
Number 6, the finale. So when we get back from our break, our very long break, we're going to talk Uprising, Book 6 of Rebel Force. Stay tuned, everybody. Welcome back to Padawan Library. I'm Tim May, here as always with Levi Paratic.
Hello.
And this week, we got the end of a series, and only one more book left in Padawan Library history. But we'll talk about that at the end of the show. But this episode is about Uprising, and we were pretty harsh with last week's book.
We sure were.
I think we still gave it all positive scores. It's not bad. But we weren't that pleased with Trapped. Uprising, the finale here, I was pretty nervous going into this.
Same.
I'll say it may not have reached quite the former glory of this series, the first couple of books, which I thought were incredible. But I think this is a significant rebound.
I agree, and I think the end part of this book is the most significant part of the book. Yeah. I felt like this was still a little bit more slight, and then when I got into the last 40 pages or so of the book, I'm like, all right, this is where the good stuff is. So I was thinking for this I could just quickly summarize the gist of it, and then we'll get into the meaty bits. So the gist of this is Sorish, he's now what's the word I'm looking for? He's now disgraced. He's a disgraced Imperial general, and he's got to get his grace back. So he has this big master plan. His master plan includes he's going to capture Luke Skywalker. He's going to kill Darth Vader. He's going to destroy the Rebel fleet, and then he's going to take his place at the Emperor's side. He's going to do this all at once. So he starts his plan by kidnapping a whole transport of people and then contacting Luke Skywalker on the Millennium Falcon and says, hey, you got to come or I'm going to kill all these people. So Luke has no choice. He has to go. He takes Han, Leia, and Chewie with them. Han thinks he has this great plan. Turns out it's not a great plan. They all get captured. At which point he keeps Shorish, he keeps Luke separate from the rest of the gang, and he begins brainwashing Luke to become his next agent. So there's this whole brainwashing thing, and then Luke, after he's brainwashed, is ordered to kill his friends, but turns out Luke is not brainwashed. This was kind of similar to a certain brainwashing that happened in Jedi Apprentice book number 3.
I was gonna point this out, the hidden past, baby.
The hidden past. I couldn't remember the subtitle. subtitle. I thought it was the Forgotten Past. I'm like, what is it? I know that it's very similar because Obi-Wan is like being brainwashed, but he uses the Force to prevent himself from being brainwashed. So yes, very similar to the Hidden Past. And then so basically what you find out, so Shorish is on this abandoned moon, which was this secret Imperial base that was run by Tarkin to create a super weapon. So basically he said he got this spy, he brainwashed a rebel spy to go to the rebels and say, hey, the Empire's having this big meeting in this certain area on this certain day, you guys should attack. So really what he does is he gets the rebels to show up, the rebel fleet to show up, he gets the Imperial fleet to show up, and then he calls Darth Vader and says, hey, I got that thing you want, Luke Skywalker, and Vader's pissed. So he's got all of these people in one place at once, and then it's revealed what the super weapon is. The super weapon is a missile that is shot into the solar system sun and will cause the sun to implode and wipe out the whole solar system. And that's how he's going to kill Vader. That's how he's going to kill the whole Imperial fleet. He's got Luke Skywalker brainwashed, and that's how he will assume his power in his rightful place beside Sheev Palpatine. Of course, this all goes awry because Luke is not brainwashed. Luke rescues his friends. And then the last part of the book is the missiles are shot into the sun, and Luke and the gang have to get the Rebel fleet out of there before the sun implodes. So now we can talk about the juicy bits of the story.
All right, let's talk. Sorry if I seem distracted.
What you got there, a Gundam?
Oh, well, yeah, I was just adjusting it. I wasn't trying
okay.
to show this to you. Yeah, I have a Gundam model kit that I just built yesterday.
Wow. Now you're a modelsman?
Kind of. I got this as a gift from a friend of ours, John, who will not be on the show, like a year ago, and I had to get like a building kit in order to actually do it, like with the tools and stuff. So I never got around to it, and I just bought the kit for like $10 the other day, and so I made it. It was fun. I always forget how small they are. That's my only.
Yeah, he is very tiny.
But anyway, but I was distracted while you were recapping because at first I thought our movie theater closed yesterday because of inclement weather, and a friend of the show who'll never be on the show, Dan, not my brother. He texted me just now and was like, the theater's fucking closed again.
Oh.
And I was like, uh-oh. But then we looked, and he was wrong. They open at 3 because it's a school day. Because they say it's because it's a school day, but it's really because like not enough people are going early in the day on a weekday. But apparently he thought it was closed because he called because he's trying to. Okay, this is for fans of the show. I apologize. We will talk about the book. There's a lot to discuss, and I'm glad you laid out the plot so we can just get into it. Yeah. But basically, last night, me and this friend and another friend were going to go to see Jackass Forever. We were going to go to the special fan event with the extra footage, and Dan was calling them to see if they can show that version at the 4:30 show, which we're planning to go to. And I was like, I'm not sure that's going to work. But anyway, you saw this version last night, and it's not it's just like a short featurette at the end.
Yeah, it's like a roundtable discussion with the cast is what it is. So, but
he's such a fucking goofball. Oh my god.
You know what's really funny though? So I walked into my theater last night, and I wanted to look at the crowd. Who were the people who were here at the first screening of Jackass Forever? Because these are the diehard fans.
Sure.
And as I look at the crowd, I see a man who looks exactly like friend of the show who will never be on the show, Dan, not your brother.
If he had come down there, that would be so funny.
And what was crazy was like I looked at this guy, and then this guy looked at me, and it was just like, is this Dan? And as I'm walking past him, I'm looking, and it's like, okay, no, he's a little overweight. This isn't Dan.
It's that Dan dude. Dan dude.
Well, Mel saw him, and
Dan dude himself.
Well, Mel saw him, and I'm like,
that's the most inside joke shit. I apologize to all of our listeners.
I said to Mel, doesn't that guy look like Dan? And she's like, well, he's a little big. She's like, I guess a double Dan. I thought that was funny.
Okay. Anyway,
but I was just floored the second I walked in. I'm like, oh my God, it's Dan. Like, he came. How did he find me? How did he know?
That'd be crazy. All right.
Anyway,
let's talk about Uprising.
Jackass Forever. I highly recommend all the listeners.
I'm excited. I like the Jackass movie. I was like hit or miss on the show when I was a kid because I always thought it was just very hit or miss. But the movies are just all killer, no filler.
They're all hits. Every single one are hits.
They're so good. Anyway, so.
Wait until you see the opening.
I can't wait.
The opening is the funniest thing ever.
All right. God damn, give me a heart attack for a second there. Okay.
Well, you know what? I had a simple, not to derail further, but I have these Fandango gift cards, and I was going to use them to buy my tickets, and Fandango was telling me my theater was temporarily closed. And I freaked out. I called the mall and I was like, hey, the website's telling me the movie theater is closed. Are they open? And the woman, she goes, you could tell she was annoyed that I called the manager's office of the mall. And she goes, the movie's usually open at 4. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of theaters that'll like open later in the day, I guess. I actually hate that. I love going in the middle of the day, so
yeah,
very annoying.
I'll tell the listeners too, I called off work yesterday. I was supposed to work from 1 to 9 p.m. and they were the only screenings of Jackass were 7 and 7:45, and I said, well, I'm calling off today so I can go see Jackass.
That's very funny. All right.
Back to
Let's talk about Uprising because there's a lot to get into. So I will say, I agree broadly with what you said before you ran through the plot, which is that for the first chunk of the book, I thought it was very good, solid, but I was like, this isn't feeling that eventful to me. Once Luke gets kidnapped, it's kind of interesting, but I'm like, Luke has literally been kidnapped in this series like 4 fucking times, and he's woken up in chains like 4 times. I was like, okay, like how many times are we going to do this? But I agree. There was a whole sequence where he's being tortured that was where he was having all these memories. It was very Jedi, very much the hidden past. That's where the true heads go. Back to episode 3 of this podcast. Literally almost 3 years ago, and that
I know.
is.
And I still recall that book as being like one of the best Jedi Apprentice books too. Like fantastic. It's going to be on the list, the final list of greatest books.
I would say the most important stuff here is what's going on with Ferris. And what's going on with Luke and Leia. You know, I'll say this though, the Luke, Leia, Han stuff was back in full effect in this book. Lots of fun material for them. But Ferris, we talked a lot about how we weren't happy with where Loon Divinian, or Div, as he's known in this series, went as a character last week. And I stand by that. There's nothing really happened in this that I thought really redeemed my issues with that. But I did mention last week, he wasn't really the focus of last week's book. I did mention that I was happy with where they took Ferris in this series. And I think that what they did with him was absolutely incredible. Like, I was... Because, I assume you got all this. I was very distracted by our friend. I
actually didn't mention Ferris in my
description. So Ferris, during this whole situation, he's been on Yavin 4, this is all a couple months after the events of Trap. So he's been welcomed into the fold to some degree, but he's not fully trusted with like secrets or whatever.
Yeah, when we see him and Div, they're building freshers together,
and
showers.
Is pissed about that,
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, Ferris senses that there's something going on with his rebel mission, which is where the climax comes up, and that's where he senses that there's this plot with the sun exploder or whatever. He doesn't know the specifics, but he tells Dodonna it's a gut feeling, but he can't reveal his Jedi past, so to give it more authority or whatever. So, but Obi-Wan comes to him Force Ghost Obi-Wan comes in and is just like, you follow the Force. You know where Luke is. Like, figure out where Luke is. And so he's able to do that. Him and Loon go and meet up with them, and he helps everybody escape. Ferris stays behind on the planet with Leia as she's evacuating the hostages, right?
Right.
And Loon goes off with Luke and Han to engage in the battle above. And Loon dies in this.
Kind of unceremoniously.
Yeah, I mean, it's what it is. But Ferris, though, this stuff was really powerful, I thought, where Ferris stayed behind with Leia. And he's like made a decision. You know what? I'm going to tell her right now that who her father is, and everything, that I was a Jedi, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And as he's about to say it, he feels his lungs tighten, and it's just like, ooh, what's going on? And he's just like, oh, he senses a presence he's not felt since. And except this time, it's Vader is the presence he's not felt since. So he says, I think somebody else is still back there. I will go after them. You leave and escape, he tells Leia. So he goes and he winds up confronting Vader. And that whole sequence is so fucking cool. You have like Vader really like going at him because he keeps calling him Anakin. He mentions Padme and this throws him into a tizzy. He just can't handle it.
He starts spiraling.
He opened a different book, not the Book of Boba Fett, the Book of Saw. So I thought there was this really amazing stuff. This felt like the real culmination of everything from Last of the Jedi, where it's just like, he's like, oh, Ferris is just like an ant. He doesn't matter to me anymore. He can't affect me. But then it's like, as soon as he starts mentioning Padme, he's just like, no, I can't.
There's one part where it's from Vader's POV, and he's like, I should have snuffed him out while he was still in the temple, like, oh my God. I said I should have killed him when I was still a Jedi.
But then he was disgusted with Ferris's fat body too, and he was just like, is this what Anakin would be if he and he was just like, oh, why do I even care about that? Anakin's not a real person. Fuck Anakin.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Vader literally calls. Let me see if I can find it. He calls Ferris a fat old man, which I thought was very funny. And then Ferris is like, we're the same age, and that's when Anakin's like, oh, you son of a bitch, you always got one up on me, like.
And so, I thought that was amazing. And obviously Ferris has to lose that duel.
Yes.
And he gets killed. And there's this great moment where Ferris, first he feels the presence of Obi-Wan, talks to Obi-Wan, but then he feels the presence of Roan, his I quote, longtime partner and friend.
Yep.
Now, he was a business partner with him, but this was they couldn't make it explicit. But we've talked about this back in the Last of the Jedi.
They had a way of grabbing each other's elbows.
Yeah, and it was very nice. And I was like, because I love that relationship, and so shouts to Roan, and Roan basically is like welcomes him into the afterlife. Obi-Wan is like, oh, there's life beyond this. Like, it's not over. Look at me. Listen to my master talk, in the ether or whatever. So, but then Roan is like, welcomes him basically into the afterlife. And then you realize that the person that was right next to him was Leia.
Yeah, as he's dying.
Because Leia has run back to see what happened. And she realizes that, he's dying. Luke and Han show up because the sun was exploding, the Empire retreated and everybody was able to get away. So now they just have to get everybody that's on the planet. to leave, meaning Leia, who's the only person that was left back down there. So Luke and Han go to get her, and they carry Ferris's body onto the Falcon to give him a proper, send off, and they take off in the Falcon. And there's a nice little scene between Luke, Han, and Leia where there's a good dynamic scene. And I was like, damn, like I kind of want like more of these, like not for the show, but like because I'm ready to be done, listeners. But but like this now I feel like okay, everything's clicking into place here. And then there's this epilogue that jumps forward 2 years to the beginning of Empire, and we get Obi-Wan's perspective on his first vision to Luke, which was nice. Although I thought maybe when I saw the 2 years later thing, it would be like post-Empire, and it would be a scene where Luke is like reflecting back on Ferris, maybe, and like, oh, did that guy know anything about my dad or whatever, So like, obviously couldn't have a conversation with Leia. That's the problem with all this, is that I feel like that would happen. I don't know, but it's coming. But I thought all that stuff, the Vader stuff, the Luke, Han, Leia stuff, the Ferris stuff, was all like absolute aces, incredible.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and that's why I give this book 10 midichlorians.
I'm gonna go 10 as well. I do think ultimately the series as a whole, the disappointment of the latter half of the series on the whole, hurt this conclusion a little bit, but only a little bit. It rebounded nicely, and I think for our finale we should rank all the series that we read. I think rather than picking like 5 favorite books, I think ranking the series might be a smarter.
Yeah, because my issue is like
delineating individual books.
If I had to rank by the book too, I feel like I'd forget some too, because like I don't have my shelf in front of me with all the books to like look at all the individual titles.
So this ending did ensure that it would raise maybe a couple spots on that list than I might have thought after last week. So I'm going 10 midichlorians absolutely, and it's got to be flavored with Luke Skywalker and Leia Organa, the galaxy's last hope. You know what I mean? The hope that Ferris died for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I agree. And you also forgot to mention that, like at the end, Han takes them all into like the gathering area of the Falcon, like where the table.
Oh, and they drink Lum.
Yeah, he pours them all glasses of Lum together. They all share a drink. So
Lum. When I hear Lum, I always think of the real heads know Urusei Yatsura, Rumiko Takahashi, the legend, shouts to the queen. All right, move on. I love referencing things you would have no.
Yeah, I know you do, and I just always just like, yeah, right. I know I totally know what you're talking about, Tim. As a whole, of a series whole, I think Div is a problem.
Div is making Div central. I think if you would just let Div live. Let Div live, in my opinion.
There's no reason.
Not at the end of this story, really. I don't care that much by that point. But I mean, let Div be on his own. He should not have ever. I don't think he needed to factor into the series in any way. I know that he winds up tying into the X7 thing, but like that could have been resolved in a different way. I
also don't think he needed to die in this book either.
No, I don't think he did.
He could continue to serve the rebels with no consequences to the grander story as well. So I think Ferris, needed to die. It
matters. Yeah. Anyone with a direct relationship with Anakin, I think, kind of has to be dead by this point in the story. So, I really, it was a nice revisitation. Whoever wrote it.
I agree.
Alex Wheeler did a great job. Shouts to Alex. We all love you, whoever you are.
Whoever you are.
And
Shouts to all those references you made to those Jude Watson books too. Very intriguing that you did that.
Entire run very closely to make direct references to. I have no reason to disbelieve. Again, like I've said, I have no reason to disbelieve either of the completely contradictory sources.
Why would they lie?
But I, whatever. It's what it is. As they say in The Irishman, it's what it is. That doesn't mean I'm putting a hit out on anybody. I don't want to, actually, I realize, as they say in The Irishman, that means, one of my favorite parts of The Irishman is when De Niro tells Pacino, when he said, they said it's what it is, and Hoffa knows what that means, and Pacino's just like, they wouldn't dare. I love that. The way he immediately gets his back up and they wouldn't dare. Anyway, so all right. I love
all right. Yeah, you do. All right, next week, our final book report. Jedi Prince number 6, Prophets of the Dark Side. Is that the one that
Prophets of the Dark Side? We got my brother Dan, not friend of the show, who will never be on the show. We got the friend / foe of the show, who is often on the show. He's back for one last go at the Jedi Prince series, which I'm excited about. And this is our last book that we're covering. We have 2 more episodes. We're going to have a finale after that, but there's only one more book to talk about. It's crazy. We're coming to the end here, and I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody is. I hope everybody's okay with our decision here.
I'm okay with our decision.
You and me are okay, and that's all that fucking matters. But I hope everybody knows, we're very grateful. We'll talk about all this. At the end.
If anybody has any feelings, because we have never, we just stopped doing it. If anybody has any feelings or wants to, anything they need to say before we're done, email us, padawanlibrary@gmail.com.
Hey, if we could have a couple fan questions in the finale, that'd be cool. I would like that.
Would be cool. That would be neat.
So padawanlibrary@gmail.com. Do it. Please,
I'll actually check the email. So
maybe there's plenty in there that we haven't seen.
There's a lot of. I somehow keep getting the monthly newsletter for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in the Padawan Library Gmail. I do not understand why it shows.
I wonder if I use that email for some voting purposes at one point. I don't know. Speaking of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, nominees came out the other day.
They did.
We'll see how that goes.
There's going to be a controversial one who may make it. Eminem being on there, so I feel like that'll be the one.
He's going to make it.
There's no way he won't. My mother.
You sell 20 million copies of an album, you're in the hall. It's what it is. Yeah.
So, but yeah. My mother, who watches the Hall of Fame closely, she'll be like, "That's not rock and roll," and it's like,
That's not the issue.
I'll tell her, give it 10 years when you start exploring the late '90s music, and you'll be all over Eminem.
I don't know. I mean, controversial indeed. But I think Duran Duran's going to waltz in now that they've finally been nominated. I think there's a few. I'm obsessed with the Rock Hall. It's embarrassing. It's actually among my most embarrassing obsessions. So, yeah. Although they're doing this big immersive Get Back experience, they're opening in March. And there's, I guess theoretically the idea being that they're going to that immersive Van Gogh
exhibit? I see the ads all the time.
So I guess they're using that technology to project the footage so it feels like you're in the room with them.
Wow.
And theoretically, and then they're recreating an actual the rooftop, and they're gonna have walls that have projections of it, so it feels like you can be on the rooftop watching them do the performance.
Wow, that's going to be insane.
So, like, I'm definitely going to that. That sounds crazy. The museum itself, I have no real issue with. It's the voting body. It's an embarrassing voting body. They always embarrass themselves. Okay, let's wrap this up.
Anyway, all right. Until the books are due back.
The library is closed. Padawan Library is hosted and produced by Tim May and Levi Peretic. It is edited by Tim May. Our theme song is by The Astral Project. Our artwork is by Freddie Funbuns. Padawan Library is copyright 2022. Tim May and Levi Peretic. All rights reserved.